I'm Tai Wong reporting from New York, and it is Tuesday, July 7th. Quick look at what President Trump has posted. He posted earlier today, Toyota is moving from Mexico to the United States, Texas. A really big deal. Tariffs at work. To be clear, Toyota is not moving its entire operation to Texas. They're expanding a big plant in San Antonio, 2,000 new jobs, $3.5 billion. I think it's supposed to be ready to go by 2030 or so. They're going to build some more of the Toyota Tacoma, the sort of the mid-size pickup truck in the U.S. because they're really worried about tariffs and other things. So, in this case, certainly the tariffs are bringing some more industrial production back to the U.S. On an overall basis, that's not easy, but this is one success story, and the president posted about it. So Axios reports the Strait of Hormuz Iran attacks 3 ships in 24 hours, according to the U.S. They fired 2 missiles at commercial ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz on Monday night, and this morning they attacked a 3rd commercial ship. This morning would be Iran time, I believe. And this comes after a 1-week agreement between the U.S. and Iran on halting attacks in the Strait expired. The U.S. is likely to retaliate with strikes against Iranian targets. This is not a surprise. You hit us, we have to hit you back. So we'll see if the market's not too concerned about this, and we'll look at oil prices in a second. But both the two vessels suffered significant damage, but no casualties. And there's really not a lot of progress in negotiation so far. Oil is grudgingly higher. It's up, a couple dollars, a couple percent here. Certainly again near the lows, but if you look at the price action, it looks like we're forming a little bit of a base here. Once again, still right where we were before the war started. Interestingly, gasoline and heating oil, which have been heading up, are down today. Remember, there's a dynamic of refining that makes gasoline and heating oil, though they usually follow crude. They're not necessarily in lockstep, depending on what demand happens to be for gasoline. Are a lot of people driving? Is it fewer people than expected? So keep an eye on those. Fuel prices. Sliding slowly. Yesterday was $3.79.90. Today's $3.79. I don't know how much more this is going to go down. Okay, so let's look at Korea. Korea, the big headline overnight. The Kospi was down 5%. So this is the Kospi right here. And what I tried to do was I overlaid I put a transparent Samsung chart under it. So this is the Samsung chart, and it's down 7%. And if you look at it, amazingly, it's the same chart. It's about 25 to 30% of the index. If you look at SK Hynix, which I didn't do here because wasn't necessary and I didn't want to confuse the situation, they're all 3 of the same chart. So Barron saying, why is Samsung's huge earnings beat not enough for the stock? So in a preliminary earnings report, there were full quarterly earnings report later this month, they had a huge surge in profit, but the stock was down a lot. Now, profit was up, operating profit, $58 billion for that quarter. That's a 56% jump quarter on quarter, and a 19 times jump from the same period earlier. Now, obviously, the stock has come up 380%, which is why even this huge jump in revenue, the stock was down close to 10%, up in revenue, up in profit. I love this quote: "As it is often the case, it can be better to travel than to arrive." There is concern in the Korean market that, after this big jump, can they sustain it? Even though, depending on whose expectations you look at, the Samsung's profit outstripped Wall Street expectations. But results were only 6% ahead of estimates, and it seems to have brought in a bout of profit taking. So this is what happens when your expectations are super high, and people have said, the one time that NVIDIA's earnings don't beat expectations, then there's going to be trouble. Now, I don't think this is the same thing as Cisco was in 2000. I wasn't really watching equities back then. I was really trading foreign exchange. But you would worry about NVIDIA the day that it doesn't beat expectations, which will probably come someday. I don't know if it'll come anytime soon. Okay, now this is Douglas Kim, and this is another view on the Samsung Electronics. reported sales of 171 trillion won, which was 2% lower than consensus, and operating profit of 89 trillion won, 5.5% higher than consensus. So, you just need a little bit of doubt, and 2% lower on sales, only 5% higher than consensus, even though the growth was huge, was enough to get people to take profit. And I guess Smart Karma, which is a pay-only site, says watch out for SK Hynix underperforming Samsung by more than 20%. Certainly that won't bode well if that's true for the stock or for the Korean exchange. Let's take a look at the U.S. exchange. And you know what? We're down quite a lot early, hanging in, still down, but hanging in. Energy, real estate, healthcare leading, but basic materials and technology down. Those are big parts of, but really big sectors by capitalization. So that's why you can see it's a little down here. If we finish flat or higher today, which is possible, I think that would be a pretty good signal for a strong July. S&P, down just 0.3%. The Mag 7's actually up a little bit. Bonds are, they're kind of following stocks lower. And as you will see in a second, we actually had kind of a weakish ADP weekly employment report today. So I don't know why bonds are getting hit really so hard. Precious metals are mixed. Dollar's a little bit higher. Precious metals are mixed here. Crude oil up 3%, and that's on the attacks on Hormuz. But you can see as gasoline and heating oil, which is the same thing as diesel, flat and down as well. Now, quietly, after going down to probably 57,000, Bitcoin is up to 64,000. Ether up a bit, Solana up a little bit as well. And strategy is has sold some Bitcoin. That news hit the market, hit Bitcoin. Now it's now they priced it out, and we'll see how far Bitcoin can go. I'm certainly not overly bullish, but the price action so far has been decent. Taking a look at Micron, also another chip maker, that's down 5% behind Samsung and SK, down 20% from where it was a couple of weeks ago. Similar to to its bigger companies in Korea. So I want to we had one data release today, keeping an eye on it. The ADP employment change weekly came in 21,000 jobs per week in the 4 weeks leading to June 20th, 2026, right? So last week was actually 31 or 32K, and it's marked down to 24. And when you get lower revisions, that tells you about something about how strong the number really is. And as you can see, and this is on a weekly basis, in the last 8 weeks, with the exception of this 1 week, we've slowly moved lower. And this suggests, why the employment report was a little soft. Maybe the next employment report will be similarly soft. And, have we seen the best employments we have this year? We may well have, which is why I still don't know why the market is pricing 80% chance of a rate hike by December. Thanks for tuning in today. I'll see you again tomorrow.